of the Phantom Phenomena book that I got from Five Below and has no author name on the front or anywhere. Which is questionable. So, where were we even? Let's figure out where we were. Oh, we read this. We read about forest fire, Carmen Sandiego. If you want to go back and look at the last video. Okay, I think here we are. We're gonna go with middle of nowhere. I don't like how this sentence starts. Let me not be nitpicky though. You ever drive through a stretch of road and stumble upon a single home miles away from anyone else? I wonder what it would be like to live in such a place. Comfy, quiet, perhaps a little lonely, but scarce grocery store trips and unanswered emergency service requests are some of the scary aspects of living in the middle of nowhere. Nowhere in this case refers to being surrounded by wilderness for miles or kilometers, as the case may be. You name it, deserts, forests, swampland, or prairies, in the middle of nowhere, you are your last line of defense. It makes me curious about the thoughts of predatory individuals when they come across such a remote dwelling. Do they see the residents as easy prey? Are they tempted to peek inside? Stay alert when walking outside at night in isolated areas. There may be unexpected hazards. The stories contained in this section illustrate a terrifying picture of who or what seeks to turn your faraway home into a nightmare hellscape. Footprints, I guess, leading off in between the trees, maybe heading to your house in the middle of nowhere. Okay, let's read this first story. The Old Gas Station. Very, very creative name. Not on the nose at all. The building looks like it hasn't seen human life in decades. Only the small skittering of insects and rodents have kept the place company. So why is it you could swear you just heard someone stepping behind you? Okay. The notes on this story, the location is the wilds of Colorado, USA. The date and time is just an evening in late spring. The atmosphere is a pensive isolation with the presence of a stranger. I'm what many people may call a drifter. You're free to use whatever term you like. I have been wandering the country since I graduated high school, jumping from place to place, finding work wherever I can get it. It's not what a person would call stable living, but I do what I can to get by. gaze off into the stars as you fall asleep. It was on such a night that this series of occurrences happened. I was in a small town in Colorado. It was about 7:30 p.m. when I noticed the sun going down. As per routine, I walked into the woods looking for a place to camp. I was extra careful in choosing a camping spot this evening and ended up walking a long way into the Colorado wilderness, which doesn't seem like that great of an idea to me personally. It was a pleasant walk with lots of nature to see, until I found something strange. A gas station, I whispered to myself. After walking for so long, surrounded by unfamiliar trees and plants, it surprised me to stumble upon an old rusty gas station in the middle of nowhere. The place was in shambles, and it looked like it would fall over at the mere sign of wind. The gas station's design suggested that it was constructed in the 60s. Nevertheless, the place was rickety, so it was too much of a risk that the building would collapse on me if I slept inside. If it's been standing there this long, I doubt that it would suddenly decide to collapse because you slept there, but you never know. However, Mother Nature wasn't having it, and soon the bitter patter of raindrops filled the air. Left with the circumstances and the night rapidly approaching, I took shelter inside the gas station. As I passed through the front door, the sound of rain smacking the metal roof echoed in my ears. I immediately saw a large countertop with shelves behind it. To my left, there was a door that went into the garage portion of the station. The whole place was empty, filled with only a strange smell and cracked black and white tiles for flooring. It wasn't the coziest of places, but it beat sleeping in the rain. Apart from being a dump, the garage door had a bent part that left a small opening, inviting unwelcome guests like snakes to sneak in. And the last thing I wanted was to be bitten in my sleep. A snake is not biting you in your sleep. Okay, so I decided to sleep to the right of the counter in front of the main door, using my sleeping bag as a mattress. As soon as I lay down, an unsettling feeling washed over me, urging me to leave immediately, as if there was an imminent threat or danger lurking nearby. I ignored this feeling. Never do that. Never do that. We all know that, right? I ignored this feeling and allowed the exhaustion of walking all day to lull me to sleep. What a mistake that was. I awoke to the sound of growling outside of the building. It took me a while, but as soon as I realized what I was hearing, I became fully alert. Due to previous encounters with wolves and bears, I developed a habit of carrying a knife for self-defense. With the knife in hand, I strained my ears to decipher the source of the menacing growls. It did not sound like a bear. It sounded bigger. What's bigger than a bear? The growls were some of the deepest I'd ever heard a creature make. What could it be? I said to myself. what? No. Quickly, I rushed to roll up my sleeping bag and placed it inside my backpack. While I continued packing up my other things, the sharp sound of the metal garage door being forcefully bent and lifted made me cringe. I put on my backpack and ran out of the front door through the rain and into the woods. While I was running, I swear I could hear that same deep, distorted voice laughing loudly in the distance. I'm not sure how long I ran, but eventually I made it back to the small town where I went looking for the police. What are the police gonna do? You're gonna tell them you heard a voice. Like, that makes no sense. The local sheriff was parked next to a diner in his patrol vehicle. I guess he could tell I was a bit shaken, so he brought me into the diner, sat me down on a bench in a booth, and bought me a meal. Once I had finished my meal and had calmed my nerves, I told the sheriff what had happened. He laughed, looked out of the window, took a sip of coffee, and spoke. The old gas station, huh? Yeah. That place is not abandoned. Not abandoned. Not abandoned. Not abandoned. Not abandoned. I'm so mad that that's the end of the story. What was that? It was just getting good. What was the cop going to say? Whatever. The Pinyon Skinwalker. Let's take a break. The Pinyon Skinwalker. This looks like a ranch or something. Okay, letting cool air drift into the room. She works away until interrupted by a noise outside her window. The animals she's used to are gone, and in their place is a beast of legend. Not a fan of skinwalkers. I don't know of anyone that is, but I don't really want to see one. Field notes. Location off a dirt road in the California desert, USA. Date and time, a school night in the spring of 2022. The atmosphere, all alone with the creeping sense that something in your surroundings is horrifically off. About a year ago, I used to live in a somewhat isolated little neighborhood that was in the high desert of California. I lived on a dirt road, and since the homes were so spread out, wildlife wasn't an uncommon thing. You'd see rabbits, coyotes, snakes, and on rare occasions, deer. Once you lived there for a while, you got used to animals roaming around during the late hours of the day. I'm Native American, so most of the time I actually enjoy seeing the wildlife so close to my home. I'm sorry, I don't know why that sentence is funny to me. But I always knew of a creature my tribe refers to as a skinwalker. I'm not supposed to say that there's no bad omen. And that's what I think I saw in this story. I didn't think there was a problem with saying skinwalker. I thought there was a problem with saying it like in its original language. Maybe I'm wrong. The house I lived in had a large backyard and a gravel mixed with dirt driveway, leaving a lot of open space to look out from. My room was at the front of the house, and every night, if I had my window open, I would find myself staring out at the front gate of our driveway. It was silent every night unless you heard coyote howls. There were a lot of strange things up there, and I wasn't the only one who experienced it. My boyfriend and my mother did as well. While I was homeschooled, I sat in the office in silence doing my work. In the silence, I swear I heard a knocking sound by the window that I could not see out of. I couldn't see through because we didn't have blinds or curtains. We had sliding barn doors as windows instead. I turned my head to look at the window and it went silent. Then I heard someone or something walking. Directly outside the window was gravel, and I could hear the shifting of loose rocks. It was footsteps, not the sound of a rabbit or a coyote. It was definitely the footsteps of something larger. I froze because I didn't know what to do. Whatever was outside the window might hear me. After about 5 minutes, I left the computer and stayed in the room for the rest of the day. Stayed in my room for the rest of the day. A month or two later, I changed rooms with the office to make it my bedroom. Oh yeah, of course. The room where I experienced the terrifying thing is where I'm gonna make my bedroom. My bedroom originally was too small and my father thought I needed more space. One night, I was looking out the same window where I heard the footsteps. I was staring out at the gate that was blocking the opening to the driveway. I sometimes enjoyed looking out at the night sky, but this time something had other plans. After sitting there for about 10 minutes stargazing, I saw a figure on the other side of the gate. It looked like a coyote, but it was too long, and the way it moved, it was so unnatural it didn't look like something from this world. The sight resembled a man imitating a dog's movements by walking on all fours. It was a Therian then. It wasn't scared at first, so I just waited to see what it was going to do. It was originally just walking past the gate like a normal coyote, and then it turned its head to look at the house. It was looking at me. I could just tell. The eerie silhouette of a coyote-shaped creature emerged from the darkness, its eyes nowhere to be seen. Talking about it makes me feel uneasy, but here goes. I just stood there as still as a statue until it stood up on 2 legs and tried to climb over my goddamn gate. I lost it and rushed to shut the barn door windows, but that just seemed to make it angry. It started climbing faster. It made it onto my side of the gate. I heard it running toward my window before I closed it. Once I did, it just stopped. I had many other experiences in that house, but that was the last time I kept my window open at night. I haven't seen that creature since, and I'm happy I haven't. When my family moved out of that house, I was very sad, and I still miss it. I consider it my real home, but I am thankful I won't have to see that thing ever again. And that's the end of the Middle of Nowhere stories. In the next video, we will read a couple of stories under the theme of malevolent water.